Hello, and welcome back to the latest in a series of Niwa author interviews. Today, we are with Howard Brockman, who's a psychotherapist and author of books on mind, body, spirit. I guess, let's see. Let's go ahead and start in your latest book, A Foot in Both Worlds. Um, is about what integrating shamanic and other practices with psychotherapy. Did I get that right?
Yes.
And can you tell me a bit about the book and about how you utilize these ideas in your own practice?
Well, the book is a summary of different therapeutic approaches for the first third of it, starting with Sigmund Freud in 1900 and his emphasis on the unconscious and kind of a sweep through different psychological, excuse me, models, all the way through to contemporary times where most people who seek out therapy end up with some kind of a psychotropic drug prescribed by their psychiatrist or family doctor. And it was interesting to me to find out that this intervention, the psychiatric intervention, is the most utilized therapeutic approach, not just in our country, but in the whole world. Now, I take on a very different orientation. I've been a student of shamanism since 1981, which is when I started my psychotherapy practice. So a lot of people don't know what shamanism is. So I can say a few words about that now.
Yeah, please.
So it's a very ancient practice um, where indigenous people had to utilize their essential resources in their environment in order to better survive. So this is reputed to be between 30 and 50,000 years old, and it's a very different paradigm or understanding of the world. For shamans, the world is filled with spirit. It's called animism, where everything is imbued with spirit. And thousands of years ago, ancient people discovered how to actually communicate with the spirits of plants, spirits of animals, so they could connect to, for instance, the spirit of the buffalo to know where they'd be at any given time so that they could be sure to meet the herd and be able to take what they needed to survive. And it's a method that does not use psychedelic drugs. Rather, through percussive drumming and rattling that creates a mesmerizing sensation in a person with intention, one can shift one's awareness and enter into this other domain that is referred to as non-ordinary reality, in contrasting to our everyday ordinary reality. And with practice, one can learn how to actually communicate with power animals and human form teachers and ancestral spirits. The point being to learn about how to incorporate power for self replenishment and for healing and helping others. So, power is described as the universal life force that's in everything, as well as wisdom and information. So, shamans partner with their helping spirits, and through that relationship, they are able to accomplish basically miraculous healing outcomes. So, I've been learning that, practicing since 1981. And then in 1997, after having been a therapist for 15 or 16 years and having utilized many different therapy models, I was introduced to energy psychology, which was brand new at the time. And essentially, this is also a very different paradigm. It utilizes what is referred to as the energy body, So that would be the biofield that surrounds us, and the chakras from Indian yogic practices that are the collection centers of energy in us, and then the acupuncture meridians that are the pathways of this vital energy that acupuncturists use. So together, a number of people decided that they could incorporate this into a psychological therapeutic setting rather than just cognitive behavioral therapy that is essentially talk therapy, which is useful and helpful to many people, but it's a very different approach to being able to utilize these complementary or holistic avenues.
So do you use all of these together then, along with things like the CBT, or do you synthesize them into something different than all of them? Or
I
how does that work?
Well, when I started taking these trainings, these energy psychology trainings in 1997, two colleagues and I began practicing after each of these 3 or 4 day trainings that we took. And we developed kind of the outline or the bare bones of this model that I call dynamic energetic healing, which incorporates the shamanic techniques and the energy psychology techniques along with the conversation that is insight oriented that usually comes within a psychotherapy session. So there's one more component that makes it very interesting, and that is something called behavioral kinesiology, or more simply, muscle testing. This is when a person can hold out their arm, and then I can ask them a question, ask them to hold their arm firm and gently push down on it. And if it's really honestly true, their arm stays strong from the deltoid muscle locking. And if it's false, then the arm weakens. So I can ask questions such as, is this event that you're talking about something that occurred at least 5 years ago? And so if the arm tests strong, we can keep narrowing it down to find out the originating event that takes us back to when a particular incident that generated a trauma occurred. That's very different from cognitive behavioral therapy when we're just discussing and asking to reflect on different things, hoping that over time we can arrive at some kind of a resolution. So yes, I do incorporate them into the therapy session.
Okay. So you mentioned developing this along with other psychotherapists as well. So do you train others in how to do this, or is it something you are working on with other people, I guess? How does that
Well,
work? Like, what's the community of people doing this kind of
my
thing?
first book came out in 2006, and the next year, um, I began teaching other psychotherapists in the Pacific Northwest and then throughout the country, and that went on for 9 years. And
Hmm.
and then eventually, somebody in the UK ended up seeing that first book called Dynamic Energetic Healing, and I was invited to London to give a seminar, Friday night presentation, and a weekend seminar. And since then, after 9 years in the US, I've done trainings to UK therapists for 10 years. And it's just been a lot of fun because it's very unique. And for many therapists, cognitive behavioral therapy is the go-to therapy. What's interesting to me is that at this point in time, 1 out of every 5 Americans as of 2023 have tried energy-based therapies. You wouldn't
Yep.
think that because most people don't know what energy psychology is.
Mhm.
And there's an app called the Tapping Solution that is specifically addressing one energy psychology technique called EFT, where while you're thinking about something, you're tapping on the endpoints like this of the 12 major
Hmm.
acupuncture meridians that
Oh,
as they're stimulated, start to open up the flow of the chi as it relates to the problem state they're thinking about, and tends to shift things rather quickly. So tens of millions of people throughout the world have been using this
mm,
EFT process, and that tapping solution app has had over 4 million downloads over the last 8 or 9 years. So though you may not have heard of energy psychology, a lot of other people are finding out about it as a very effective way for self-calming and self-healing and therapeutic and diagnostic approaches.
awesome. So, would you say that the audience then of your book is the people who could benefit from it more than it would be other psychotherapists who are doing this, or is it both, or
I
neither?
would say it's I would say it's both, and that's a good
Okay.
question because this is basically a book that fits into the category of mind, body, spirit. So
Mhm.
it's written for therapists who want to learn more about this, counselors, coaches, people who already do Reiki, for instance, or other energy-based therapies. And it's written for people who are interested in approaching healing from a way that is different from just cognitive discussion. So anybody who's interested in wanting to go deeper into resolving a traumatic issue, say, would find this book interesting, inspiring, and helpful.
Thank you. Let's see. What else was I going to ask? So, what are you working on another book now, or what can we expect from you in the future?
I'm not working on another book at this time. I'm just enjoying the uh, the afterglow of having written this book. This one took me 4 years to do. First book took me 6 years to do because I'm still a therapist and I still have a small private practice. So my writing comes in the evenings or on weekends. And that may be true for a lot of authors who are independently publishing their books as well, in terms of working on the side with their book while they do their day job. So, no, I don't have plans at this point to publish another book in the near future. I'm just allowing creativity to percolate and eventually something may emerge. But I'm enjoying teaching and still working with clients.
Yeah. So, speaking of that first book, the dynamic energetic healing is the first part of the title of it. So it's on a similar theme, and it was quite a ways before this one. Can you tell us what's new between them, or how things have changed between those times?
Yes. What's new and different about this book is that I initially, in this book, have the first third of the book kind of as a sweep of how Western psychology has evolved, as I mentioned earlier, since Freud and Carl Jung and some of those people at the very beginning of Western psychology. And I go into great detail about each of these models, whereas I do not do that in the first book. The second book excuse me, the second section is a more comprehensive review of what actually is shamanism and shamanic healing and how it's applied. Whereas the third section of my new book, A Foot in Both Worlds, are case histories where actually taken from clients that I've worked with over the years, where a particular strategy called frontal occipital holding has been incorporated into the sessions so that the helping spirits through me can participate in the therapy session without the traditional drumming and rattling. Since people are coming for therapy, they're not coming for some kind of indigenous ceremony. So it's in much greater detail particularly the case histories that are emphasizing how shamanic healing resolves all kinds of very fascinating therapeutic dilemmas.
Okay. Well, thank you. And thank you very much. So the book again is A Foot in Both Worlds: How Shamanic Healing and Energy Psychology Are Transforming Psychotherapy. You can find it, I guess, everywhere books are sold.
True?
And so, just on another topic, real quick, you are a member of Niwa, the Northwest Independent Writers Association.
Yeah. Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about your involvement in that and how they've, like, its resources have helped you at all?
My involvement has been reading the newsletters regularly that are emailed to me and seeing what other authors, independent authors, are doing, trying to understand and appreciate how they're marketing their books, what topics are being highlighted by these authors, and of course, listening to and reading highlights of the interviews so that I can find out what's generating excitement for them. And while I have not yet participated in any of the book fairs, many of them I'm finding out are in Eastern or Central Oregon. There are occasionally ones in Portland, but still working pretty much as a therapist, I don't have the time to take off and sit in a booth for a weekend as a way to support either my book or somebody else's books. So at this point, I'm appreciating Niwa for how it's inspiring and supporting independent authors.
All right. Well, thank you very much. And before we go, where can people find out more about you? Are you on social media or a website somewhere?
My
Um,
website is dynamicenergetic.healing.com. And
okay.
I think if anybody's interested, they'll find a sufficient amount of information to answer a number of their questions.
Excellent. And we'll have that link in the video description here once it's up. So thank you very much. And I think it brings the
You're welcome,
review.
Pat.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.